To begin with, this trip was supposed to take place during the winter of 2020. However, as COVID restrictions took hold, restaurants and music venues were all closing, so we ended up postponing our trip several times. Finally, on November 2nd, 2022, it was time to go. Our trip was to begin in Utica, New York, right in the center of New York State. We would travel aboard Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited to Chicago, Illinois. We would spend 2 nights in Chicago before boarding the city of New Orleans for a ride to Memphis, Tennessee. After 2 nights in Memphis, we'd reboard the city of New Orleans for the trip to New Orleans. We'd be spending 5 nights in New Orleans before heading back to Chicago, then back to Utica, New York. We departed Utica after 9 p.m. on November 2nd. At 9:50 the next morning, we arrived in Chicago. We had intended to go to a blues club our first night in Chicago, but after not being able to sleep on the train, we just had dinner and called it a night. The second night was a different story. as we met my sister Carla, her husband Ken, and our nephew Ethan for dinner and some live music.
Train come around the bend, boys. And you know what? It sounded something like this. Hey!
Check yourself before you race.
I'm about to chase from outer space. I'm gonna go catch you shit now. Welcome, y'all.
The next day, our train didn't leave Chicago until 8 p.m., so we had some time for sightseeing before we had to leave. The next leg of our trip was another overnight run to Memphis, and we'd be arriving at 6:30 a.m. on November 6th.
On your wedding night.
Oh, here comes the
Get out, wander around.
The Peabody Hotel was located very close to Beale Street, so we could just walk anywhere we wanted to go.
keeping Jerry Lee Lewis from being the king of rock and roll was Jerry Lee Lewis himself. He had married his 13-year-old second cousin. Burning, brown hair keep on burning, and rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Yeah!
Tour guide, dude. I'm glad you made it. Up here, this is our gallery. This is the very early days of the studio. Don't get too excited just yet. Okay. Up here, this is pretty much everything before 1953, which means it's everything before Elvis. Don't worry, I'll get to Elvis. After that little boy from Tupelo, Mississippi would take over the entire world. Okay. He cut that song right here in this room. Right here, That's Alright Mama. It was an old Arthur Crudup song. Elvis would have stood right there on that X. How's it feel? So yeah, this is where it all started. Sam Phillips knew he had something special, okay? So if you can imagine a young Sam Phillips behind the glass, he comes flying out that door, here's like, Elvis, play it louder, play it faster. Elvis did. Sam went home that night, told his wife, Becky, honey, I think our lives have just changed forever.
Saw the ghost of Elvis, viewed in the avenue, followed him up to the gates of Graceland, and I should walk right through.
Songs like Soul Man, Holding, I'm Coming, Love and Happiness, I Can't Stand the Rain, and the black music. That's the evidence of what the Memphis sound is.
On November 8th, we left Memphis and headed south to New Orleans. This leg of the trip would be a daylight trip in a coach car. We spent 5 days in New Orleans. We found that some of the music venues we wanted to visit were already booked solid for the time we'd be in town, but we did the best we could to enjoy as much music as we could find.
I went down to St. James Infirmary. It is, that's me. Saw my baby there. She was stretched on a long white table. Well, I wonder what. Oh, so cold.
El sistema de arrecifes incluye varias áreas de parques que permanecen vivos incluyendo el arrecife de Belice.
Fort Drum is, but that's about it. Other
Okay.
than like,
We're about an hour and a half south of there.
okay. I have cousins who live out there.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, once he retired, he stayed on because he can't leave the military life. He's like, here's the deal: we have a long history of taking over things or adding stuff to it and then renaming it French related. It's just what we do. Even when it has more, you know, standing with the French or earlier, or Spanish or the U.S., anything like that.
We didn't really have a navy. We maybe had 5 ships total, and Great Britain was the most powerful in the world. So who were we to fight them? We mostly depended upon militia at the time. Now I'm portraying a member of the Louisiana militia. Does anybody know what a militia is?
Gather up all your belongings, check your seating, your seating while we check the overhead compartment above you. And make your way towards the middle of the rail car, come on downstairs for Jackson, Mississippi. Those passengers that have checked luggage, please step off the train.
On our way back through Chicago, we were able to visit one more Chicago landmark. Remember this sketch from Saturday Night Live? It was based on the Billy Goat Tavern on Lower Michigan Avenue. Amtrak Vacations is not Amtrak. Amtrak Vacations is a travel agency called Yankee Holidays, located in Massachusetts, that has a licensing agreement with Amtrak to sell vacation packages. It's quite possible you can make your own travel arrangements and save some money. Amtrak Vacations does not offer refunds. Once they have your money, that's it. If you change your mind or something unexpected happens, they will hold a credit for you and you can change or reschedule your trip, but they don't give refunds. Vacation package advertising can be misleading. Be sure the package you pay for includes everything you think it does. In our case, one of the vacation's features that was plainly advertised as being included in our trip was not included. They have some fine print that lets them get away with this, so just be sure of what you're paying for. It's a good idea to double check the side trips and excursions that are included in your vacation package. Make sure the timing will work for you and verify the tours you are booked into actually exist. In our case, Amtrak Vacations booked us on a 10 a.m. boat cruise that had been eliminated months before. Fortunately, we were able to use our credit for another day, but only after we walked all the way from our hotel to the waterfront for no reason. Lastly, don't count on being able to actually sleep in a sleeper car. The tracks are bumpy and you're being shaken and tossed around the whole time. Plus the train horn is being blown every few minutes. If you're one of those lucky people that can sleep anytime, anywhere, no matter what, you'll probably be fine. Otherwise, maybe not so much.